So now we will be learning about the dynamic blocks. After learning the normal blocks, we will be knowing what is dynamic block. So dynamic block is a block which will have some parameters to it, some rules to it. For example, we will do an application about how the dynamic block works. For example, there is a door over here. Now you can see this door is a dynamic block because it has a state as a flipped state. For example, I can flip this door at a particular point over here. So here we will learn about one of the option called the flipped option regarding the dynamic block. But let's first of all understand what dynamic block exactly is. So to access the dynamic block or to make a normal block dynamic, so we have to go to the edit block. That means you have to edit the block. We have to go to the block editor. For that, you have to select the block which you want to make dynamic. For example, here is the door, which is already made dynamic. We want to have another flipped state. For example, I want to add one flipped state. Let's say I want to change the swing. Let's say, for example, here I can only flip it out and flip it in. But now I can also, I want to change the position of the hinge using the dynamic block flip function. Now let's see how I can do with the help of the dynamic block functions. So here I select a block and double click to open this dialog box called edit block definition, and I go with OK. So here I have this edit block option. Now over here for the dynamic block, there are different authoring palettes. For example, here is the authoring palette. So if to make a block dynamic, in the process there are two things that you need to do. Step 1 is to set the parameter and step 2 is to set the action. For example, I'm just removing this state from here because this is a flipped state. So let me remove this action parameter. So this is the already was there in the block. So here I want to make it flip. So here is the set of the parameters. For example, I will choose this tab over here, and here first of all I have to define the parameter. I want to define the flip parameter. So here I go with the flip parameter, and next is specify base point of the reflection line. So if I want to flip it in the horizontal axis, so here the base point I have to define somewhere here. But let's say if I want to flip it in the vertical axis, so I give the base point here, and I want to define the reflection line. That means the line across which it will flip. For example, this particular block will flip across this reflection line. So and you have to specify the label location. So here we have the label location. Now you can see that the flip parameter is over here. Now the next is see the properties of it. For example, to select the parameter, right click it and go to the properties, and here we have the flip name as, let's say, I would say that flip position, right? So here after changing the name, you can see that when you close the label will change to flip position. Now after adding the parameter, I have to give the action. That means you have given the parameter, but you have to tell AutoCAD what to do, because you have to give the action to it. For that, we have to go to the action tab. So here we have the action called the flip action. So choose the flip action over here, select the parameter. So here when I select the parameter, then it asks you to select the object that you want to flip. So you have to select the entire object, the door part. So now you can test whether the flip is working or not with the test block. So the moment you say test block, it comes to a test block window, and from here you can do the testing of it. So you click on it, you can see the flipping operation is going on. So here I want to add another is to change the hinge. So to change the hinge, I have to create the parameter at the horizontal axis and take the mirror axis reflection line as the vertical line. Now let's see how it works. So to do that, first of all, close the test box and come back to the right. So here we have. Now next is what we need to do is to again go to the parameter, and here I have to go with the flip option. So here I will create a line so it would be a midline, let's say between this line, this point and this point. Okay, so that I can have a flip operation at this midpoint. So here I go with the flip, add a flip parameter. So select the base point. So the base point would be the mid of this, exactly the mid of this line, right? And here the reflection line would be this line. So the moment I do this and I give a location, so and then I go for the action, again I go for the flip action, select the parameter, select the object, and now you can test the block. So here we go. So now you can see that the door is not only flipping in the vertical axis but also flipping in the horizontal axis. So here you can close the test block and come back to the block editor and remove this line, and then you can close the block editor. So this is how you create a flip action in the door. Close the block editor, save the changes, and now if you look into the door, it will be having two flip state. One is in the vertical axis and the other would be basically if you select it. So let me see. So there should be another one over here. So for that I need to go and again edit it, because there is probably the flip action may have been replaced. So again edit the block. So here it has been deleted from here. So add the flip parameter. So here I add the flip parameter at this particular hinge, and okay, and I would go with the axis reflection line is this, and I put it here, and then I would go with the action parameter and I will take the flip action. So select the parameter. So I will be selecting this flip state 2. Let me select it. So now if you look this icon over here, this icon state that no action is associated with it. So we have to give the action, like the flip action. So I select this parameter and select the object. Obviously this is the object, and now you can test the block to see the flip operation. So now here you have this flipping and flipping this side also. So with this I think the block is tested. Close the test block, come back to the drawing and save the block, save changes, and close the block editor. Now the door is ready to be flipped in any axis. So this is how you create a dynamic block. Now whenever you insert the door in the opening, let's say I have this door over here, I insert this at this particular opening over here. Anyway, let's say if there is an opening, okay, I can also rotate this block. For example, when I insert it, there is a rotate parameter that comes up with the block. So here is so let's say let me have it angle. So I put it here. So when I go to the rotation, let's say I go 270 degree. Let me give the angle as 270. And then I can move this here, and then I will do a flip operation. So apart from that, you can see that you can also have the tags to it. right? So let's say, okay, so here we can flip the door, and also we can flip the door on the other side. Now we will learn another action and parameter, which is the array parameter. Now you know array is the distribution of object in a particular direction with a particular rule. So let's see how we can put the array in action. So select the object, the block, double click it, go to the edit block definition, and okay, let me remove this one because okay, so here in the parameter you will not find the array option, but here we have the parameter set where the linear array option is there for the parameter. So you give the start point, let's say just give a start and end point to define the distance, because this distance would be the linear array parameter, and then the action that you're going to give is the array action. So here you need to select the parameter. For example, this is a parameter that the object that I want to associate with this array action is this set of lines, that is the chair. Press enter. The moment you press enter, so it says that 20 objects already associated with an array. So probably now let's move this and save the changes. Now you see that what happens if you pull this line, now what is happening is the array is not working properly. So let us do one thing. Let me explode this object, make another block out of it. Let's say I create a chair 1, a fresh block, to remove the actions and parameters that is previously defined. So I take the base point here and select the object, and I'll make it a dynamic block. So I insert it and bring the chair 1 and here. So now I would be, let's say this is the chair 1 I have inserted. Now double click in it, and then let's again look into the parameter. That is a parameter set, linear array. You have this distance, and then you can go with the action. So after defining the parameter, you have to define the action called array, and select the parameter and select the object. For this is the chair, which is the object, and then you have to enter the distance between the columns. Let's say this is the distance, primary distance that you want to give at this moment. So just click and now test the block. Now look into it, how it works. So here we have this grip, and if you select this grip, so let me select this grip and just flip it into a distance that I want to do. The object will be copied, and now you can see that if you close the block editor, save changes. Now here you can use it after testing it. So let's say a particular distance, you can have the copy option done, and then you can also have the distance set from here. Let's say you want a 500 distance, so 500 is lesser, so you can give a value, let's say 3000 distance 1. So then you can give some other value, let's say 6000. So this is how basically the dynamic block is defined in an array. So next, what I would suggest is I would go with the another dynamic block option, that is the scale. So for this I would have a kitchen sink or a bed. Let's say I want to have it, so I bring this over here. There's another block, so I put this bed here, and I want to have the scale option inset over here. So I bring the bed and click on the object and the block. So here you find that there is an option for scale. So again, parameter. So there is a parameter called XY for the scale. So here just click on it, give the base point here. So this is the x and y distance that you need to specify. So here you need to, this is the x and y distance, and then from here go to the action, then you have the scale option. Here you select the parameter. Let's say you can select both the parameters, select the object, and here we are. So then you can test the block. Now you can see the grips would be there. So you can see that okay. So if you now this is the grips that is developed. So we need to check it how it works. So let us bring it to the scene, to the let us close the block editor and bring it into the file. So here because of the scenario, let's say I have a distance. If I want to give a particular distance, I can change it. Let's say if I want to give 1200, so the object will be scaled, and the y distance, let's say x distance 1 and y distance 1, let's say 3000. So you can see that the object is getting scaled in both the direction. So let us see again how this parameter works. So going back to it, so here we are. So we have this parameter at this particular time. The grips are over here. So what I wanted to do is I would remove these parameters again, so that I can close the block editor, save the changes, and there is a point over here. Now again go to the block editor. Now let's define it again. So I would go along with, let's say for example, the parameter set is the linear. Let's say I would go with the xy. So here we have in the parameters xy. So I click here, and I would go in this point. Let's say this is the x distance and this is the y distance. So this will give us a liberty that the scaling will be done in the right hand side. In the previous option we had taken the left, so it was scaling from that particular, the scaling was not getting properly. So you need to check in which direction you need to put. And apart from that, let's say go to the properties and you can rename the parameters. Like for example, there is a x distance and y distance. You can rename them over here. Let's say I want to name that x length, or length, width, and the y distance at the depth. So let's see how it works. So now now let's test it and see how it works. So go to the test block, and then you can see the grips now would be because you know what happened, you did not give the actions to it, because now you can see this warning action is there because we have just given the parameter. So we have to give the action. So action is scale. So select the parameter and select the objects, and here we are. Now if you go to the test, that you can see the grips will be developed if you select them. So here you have the width and the depth. So now you can see how the scaling happens. So this is the parameters are driven. Now go to the close, and now let's say if you want to close the block editor, close the block editor, save changes. Now you have this dynamic block. So now you have the width and the depth. You can see, let's say the width you want to give it as 900, and the depth you want to give it as, let's say 1800. So this is the scaling. Now you need to check how the scaling can be done, but this is the way the dynamic block behaves. Other thing is that you can also have the stretch operation. Like for example, if I have a rectangle, I make it a block. So I say R1 and pick a point. Let's say make it a block, I want to give the stretch operation, show how the stretch action will be there in the dynamic block. So say OK, and now insert it and go with the R1, and here we are. So I select this and let me put the rotation angle, let's say put the ortho on, and here we are. So here I can go for a dynamic block now, double click it to it. So here R1 is the option. Now here what I need to do is we have to look the parameter. The parameter is the stretch parameter. So look into the stretch parameter. So you need to go with the linear parameter. So this is the linear. So you have to stretch this distance from here. Now you can see there are two grips. So you can reduce the number of grips in the parameter into the property. So if you go to the property of this parameter by selecting the parameter and typing ch, now you can see that the number of grips that this parameter has is 2. So you can reduce it to 1. So let's say I reduce it to 1, and then you can see that there will be only one grip here. Okay, now the next is, after reducing the grip, go to the action and go to the stretch. Now you need to select the parameter, which one you want to stretch, and we have to specify the point. So obviously there's one grip over here, specify the point over here, and specify first corner. So you need to have stretch region because you want to stretch this particular side, and you can test the block, and now you can see that okay, before going to the testing we have to provide the action. So the action is not provided because the icon is no actions associated with the parameter. So again, so let's select it. Now put the point over here, the node point, and select the stretch object. Now until and unless the select object, so object was not selected, so now you can see that still the parameter is not associated. So we need to check because this is something that has to be removed. Let me remove this stretch part, and again let me go to the parameter set, go to the parameter and place a linear parameter, and remove the because you need to test it, because this is something that's very important when you do it. So then this is the if you select this parameter, this shows linear parameter, and the number of grips that you should reduce it to is 1. So reduce it to 1 and close this. Now you can see that the icon is associated here, and the action that I wanted to give is the stretch action. Select the parameter, so select the parameter. So let me put the node point over here, point to associate with action to enter. So I put the node point here, and let me give the stretch operation, let's say at this particular select this corner for the stretch. Let's say I'm selecting the corner for the stretch, and select the object. So still the icon is not removed because this is not associated with the parameter. Let me close this and see whether the parameter is associated or not. No. So now we need to understand what was the problem that we were having with the parameter. So while you are assigning a parameter and action, it is very important that the right parameter should be assigned to the right action. So let us see what is the correct way of stretching this object. Now after we assign the dynamic parameter to this block, now first of all you need to do a kind of research what you wanted to do. Actually what I wanted to do is I want to make this block so that it can be stretched, have an additional grip, and can be stretched inside when it is in the block in a particular direction. Now So when I stretch it, the distance of this particular edge will increase. So I have to give the parameter over here as the distance parameter, and then I have to give the action of the stretch for this particular edge, and the direction should be this side. Now let us see what is the correct way of doing it. So go to the now here you can see that there are certain parameters which are associated. So let's see what is the right way of assigning the stretch parameter. First, when you select a parameter, you have to understand which parameter you want to assign. So the linear parameter is basically assigned for linear movement. So the stretch parameter should be taken from the parameter set. So you have the option called linear stretch, because the stretch that we are going to do is not a linear, it is not the linear movement, but it is a stretching operation. So we have to assign the correct parameter. So here we have to go with the linear stretch, and this is the distance that is going to vary. So see the direction. So the stretch would be in this direction. So in this case, when you define the parameter, now define the action and say I want to stretch it. So the moment you click on it, and now you select this parameter and associate the parameter point. So if I associate it over here as the node, and then specify corner or of stretch frame. So obviously, as discussed, we have to stretch this particular edge. So the crossing window should be with this edge, and press enter, and then select the object. So the object, the entire object. Now you can see that the now you can test the block. Now you can see how if the test operation works or not. So now you can see that there is a grip over here. Now it is stretching at this point. So it is succeeded. Now you can close it, and now you can come to the block editor, and then now you can go to the close block editor, save changes to the block. Now you can see that the grips is over there, and now there's a distance that you can control. Now you can see here, you can write 1000. Now you can see the block will be stretched, right? So now what happens is this change. If I insert another block over here, is this change reflected in the other block also? The answer is no. So because when we have a dynamic parameter, the individual entity changes. So it is not that all the objects in the block will change, of the same block will change. So this is the stretch parameter and action, the dynamic block. So we did the first option, which was doing incorrect. So to understand that, sometimes we go wrong selecting wrong parameter. Now this is the right way of doing the stretch. Now other thing is that we are going to learn about attributes. So attributes are basically text which can be edited inside a block. For that, let us see a small example.